Hey folks, MasterCoX here. If you are new to the channel, welcome to you, and I'm glad for your time. And this year, instead of doing what we've done for the last 2 years, we've given Bardock the chance to carry out a story and explore the idea of what could possibly happen had he met his boy. Finally, after years of the official franchise teasing the prospect to us, but never really delivering. However, with the manga, things are looking a little closer to reality in that regard. So we thought we should nip this in the bud before Toyotaro steals our thunder. That being said, we don't reckon that it's going to be a wholesome or soppy affair, but if you're curious to look back through, check out the playlist link below in the pinned comment.
But before we get into the latest part, I want to thank The Ridge for sponsoring today's video. Their iconic metallic design is super lightweight and very striking, this being the Forged Pacific design, my favourite. It can hold up to 12 cards securely and conveniently, and with special ARFID blocking technology, protect you from your cards being cloned. And with a handy strap on the back for carrying your cash, this is basically all the wallet that you need. But supposing you want a handy tool to store your keys, then the Ridge's key case is your ticket. And I've been using this as my daily driver for days now, and it's absolutely perfect. You can hold up to 6 keys in this thing. It's 6! That's amazing! You can fold them in and out whenever you want to use them. And right now you can get the best offer by visiting ridge.com/Marsico to get 40% off your order before December 22nd. That's ridge.com/Marsico.
You see, it's kind of funny. When you're in the other world, completely broken off from the passage of life from the land of the living, time starts to act differently. A bit like a weird, thick, creamy soup. It kind of ebbs and flows at the whims of the tides, and nothing like the linear stretch that we are typically familiar with. Sometimes a little while can become an eternity. And for Bardock, him waiting for his son's return from that supposed 24 hours spent on his new home planet was starting to drag in a really irritating way. Goku had told Bardock to hang out with King Kai so that he would get good favor and not be mistaken for having escaped Hiffle, all because the Kai would vouch for him. Of course he would. King Kai was the reason that they had met. It was all part of his plan. Then again, the companionship of King Kai was not something that Bardock would have considered to be a consolation. He was kinda grateful for the chance to compete in the Otherworld tournament, which was a break from the definite norm, but after spending time with Kakarot, he was less enamored with the idea of reunions now. He could do without that now. Except maybe for Gine. Not only that, but he felt some really cheesy emotions emanating from the Kai and his crew. He could feel that, in a way, the Cricket Man pitied him, and Bardock hated that with a passion, that someone could pity him in that way. He wasn't someone to be pitied, he was a proud Saiyan warrior, damn it! Still though, Bardock wasn't stupid. He could tell that King Kai was a sort of deity, so he would not speak out of turn about his anger or frustration. He held his tongue, at least at the beginning of his stay, because King Kai and his yelling interrupted him constantly during his regular training routine. He was only hearing half of the conversation or whatever that was.
Goku! I told you not to use that form on Earth! It will deplete your power too quickly, and then what?
For the last time, Kakarot isn't here!
And why are you yelling? And what form?
He knew about Super Saiyan, but wait. Was there another power that Kakarot unlocked and he hadn't said anything about? Or maybe it was that other thing.
It was also confusing. Oh, sorry about that, Bardock. I was talking to Goku telepathically.
What?
Using my mind, Bardock. Using my mind.
Bardock wasn't really all that pressed. He was done with things that involved the mind after his Kanasan gift. Well, shouldn't he be also responding with his mind? You don't need to yell.
And what form? Spill it!
King Kai mused this question.
Oh, I think he was calling it like Super Saiyan 3 or something. It's useless. It will drain his energy way too quickly. He's on his last legs. He needs to prepare the kids now, or else his time there will have been wasted.
He was going to some tournament, last time I heard. Are there people that strong participating in that dumb thing? I thought the Otherworld tournament was insane, but that...
Oh, no. More than that. It's another threat for Earth to deal with. Happens a lot these days. Goku's handling it, though. Hopefully. You see, an ancient evil has been awakened.
Bardock raised his eyebrow. You're kidding me, right?
No, not this time.
Tell me, how often does stuff like this happen to Kakarot?
Good question. The last time when it happened,
he pointed at the halo above his head,
I got this. He brought a villain that was holding a grudge to my planet and basically blew us up. That's how we both died, because the bad guy regenerated.
Bardock then recalled the Cell revelation from the gossip that he had heard in Hiffle, and from what Kakarot had told him, and nodded.
Yeah, I know that. But who took him down again? Oh, Goku's son, Gohan. He's a good cookie, I tell ya.
Bardock scratched his head, and the memory of the recollection came flooding back. You see, him not really spending that much time with Kakarot, he kind of forgot what they talked about.
He has one of those.
King Kai coughed.
Actually, he has two of those.
Right. Said thoughts had now ventured into an unexpected area of his bagging area. He hadn't thought about these things in many years. If he could even call the passage of time in Hippel years. It was hard to say. It all felt like he was in the permanent now, as there was nothing in the other world that could even suggest the traditional sense of time and the passage of it. Except maybe new arrivals, but those were so few and far between, it didn't really matter. The only landmarks in time that he could reliably use were just so fleeting. King Kai, what happened to Raditz? Do you happen to know? He thought that he may as well glean some information from the bigwig around here, since he was willing to listen to him for once.
Well, he went to look for Goku to recruit him after he realized he had died too. And that's when everything went crazy. This is when I got to meet Goku, actually. It was his first death and all because Raditz and he fought to the death back on Earth. But Raditz was long gone after King Yama sent him packing years ago.
King Yama?
Yeah, the guy who processed you, the big guy with the desk. Raditz tried to jump him, but he had another thing coming. And that was a first-class ticket to Hiffle, to the most barren part of it too.
Bardock then felt a sudden spike of disappointment. He hoped that both of his sons could thrive in one way or another, maybe even join forces to try and survive the world of Lord Frieza. But it seemed like his elder progeny hadn't lived up to expectations. That and Kakarot wasn't willing to spare him, but Bardock was not self-aware enough to even maybe consider whether Raditz was at fault here or not. He didn't know the fact that Raditz had kidnapped Goku's kid and thusly stoked his anger. He was protecting his son. He just nodded at King Kai, acknowledging his answer, and returned to his training. He saw the Kai becoming quite excited at times, and Kakarot still was not back yet. Maybe Kakarot was doing pretty well down there. First, King Kai blabbered something about his son returning to life, then about being eaten by a thing called Boo. Finally, it seemed like King Kai was talking to Vegeta, also telepathically, and trying to communicate with the people of Earth to give them somebody's energy. It was kind of weird hearing it from afar, as Bardock was sure that maybe he had overheard the Cricket Man talking about the planet being blown up. He kind of wished he had some kind of viewing globe to see the other half of this go down, instead of hearing it through an overgrown blue bug. He started to suspect that either this was some sort of eternal punishment to be left in limbo like this, or that he was actually still alive and maybe hallucinating, floating around in space in some sort of a tank being fed a simulation to placate him for some reason. At one point, King Kai started celebrating and dancing around, trying to get Bardock to dance with him.
They did it! Goku destroyed Majin Buu! The universe is saved! Whoa, easy now. Majin what? Oh, well, that's a long story, but the short version is that he was a big bad for millions of years ago. But that doesn't really matter anymore since he's gone!
Bardock nodded. Oh, neat. So, when's Kakarot coming back? The king was very surprised. Wasn't Bardock supposed to be proud right now? His son had defeated the greatest malevolent force in reality. Ever. No celebration? Odd.
Oh, well, he's not coming back. He's alive again. But don't you worry. I'm pretty sure he found a way to get you back from his end. Just you wait.
Bardock still didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation. At first glance, he felt like his son had just simply tricked him, left him there to rot with this bozo for eternity. He started to feel immensely irritated at his son. First, he kept going on and on about training with him and sharing his feelings. Then he left him alone with that blue weirdo. Quite frankly, he'd be rather using this time outside of Hiffle to look for Gine. But Kakarot kept him close by, thwarting him, and King Kai warned him to stay close or else Yama might catch him. So this turned out to be prison anyway. Bardock would have welcomed another option, you know, to just disappear, fade away into nothing. That would have probably been a better use of eternity. Sure, he might have all the time in the universe, but he'd rather not spend it here. Or honestly, anywhere. But then, one day, during one of his long meditation sessions, he had to learn how to do it so as to not go crazy, he suddenly discovered that he'd moved somewhere, despite being sat down, doing nothing but meditating. Had he now transcended some plane of existence? No, turned out that he was no longer with King Kai, as there were a lot of eyes looking at him when he opened his eyes. Some of those eyes looked eerily familiar, but most of them, no, they were new to him. There was Kakarot. That widow's peak next to him had to have been Vegeta. He was too similar to his father for it not to be. But there were others too. A woman with teal hair and a kid who was unmistakably her boy, although he did share some traits with the prince as well. There was also a tough-looking Namekian, a short bald guy with no nose, a guy with a scar, and a dark-haired woman there next to a young, dark-haired man, accompanied by a girl, and a shorter boy, both looking very similar to Kakarot. Guess that must have been Kakarot's family. He didn't need to ask to guess. He didn't need to guess who those two were.
Hey, Dad! Welcome to Earth. We managed to ask Shenron to bring you back. Dende had to do some upgrades after all, but we got there in the end.
The younger Namekian gingerly waved in Bardock's direction. The Saiyan didn't reciprocate. It was at this time that Bardock realized that the sky above was black, and there were a gargantuan serpent-like creature above them. His eyes were popping. He had seen a lot of things in Hiffle, but this was quite the new one.
What in the name of...
Goku was not flustered one bit in his reply.
Oh, that's just Shenron. You know, Dragon Balls. I told you about them, Dad. Oh well. Thanks again, Shenron.
My pleasure, Goku.
And the dragon just retracted into the orbs, and then they flew away in separate directions.
So, everyone, this is my dad, Bardock. Dad, this is Chi-Chi, my wife, my son Gohan and his girlfriend Videl. Oh, and this is my younger son, Goten.
Videl and Gohan blushed. Bardock started to silently assess the group. This young man, Gohan, looked like even more of a softie than his dad. Was this the guy who had supposedly one-shotted that Cell? Do me a favour. But Bardock had learned to not allow his assumptions to cloud his judgment. Maybe this kid was a sleeper hit. A wolf in sheep's clothing, perhaps. No, that was Yamcha.
And these are Bulma, and you know Vegeta, of course. This is his son Trunks. Not the future one, by the way. Oh, wait, what?
Trunks wanted an elaboration, but his father shushed him before he could get an answer.
Piccolo, Yamcha, and Krillin. We have more friends, but Chi-Chi said that we didn't want to overwhelm you. So, welcome home.
I gotta admit, it's a great honor to finally be able to meet. Bardock just stood up and walked past him. Huh. Okay. Better than what Raditz did to him and slapped him into Kame House. Krillin would take that. Yeah, whatever. Thanks for all the effort. What's next? Bardock crossed his arms and awaited a response. The group were left a little bemused. Surely Bardock would have been happy to be alive again. Frieza's actions had now been cancelled out. But here, he was looking like nothing had happened. Like the idea of reincarnation and revival was nothing to him. Chi-Chi seemed initially intimidated by that kind of behaviour. And you know how hard it is to intimidate her.
Oh, we thought you could live with Goku and I for a bit, before we could figure out something more long-term.
I see. Silence. This awkward silence was briefly interrupted by the whimpering of Krillin, who'd been totally ignored. Bardock ignored him again, and looked over to the prince. So, Prince Vegeta, you're still here. A family man on the outskirts of space. Ironic. Bardock decided on a mild jab at the princeling was in order. He'd always wanted to do that. Vegeta, though, didn't bite. It's just Vegeta these days. And yes, the universe has moved on a lot since you were around. You should try and catch up. Bardock looked around. He could feel that they had expected a different sort of welcome to the one that they had received, but he couldn't care any less. Alright, show me home, I suppose. He shrugged. As his family launched into the air, with Kakarot's wife notably being held back by him, they decided to show him the way. Bardock glared at Vegeta and his woman, who were whispering between themselves, probably trash-talking him, no doubt. And that Namekian who was watching him closely, but not saying a word. What was his deal? While they were flying, the younger one, Goten, approached him.
So, Grandpa, is it true that you're in Hiffle?
Pause. I was. Longer pause.
Why?
Because I killed a lot of people. More pauses. The boy suddenly got a little pale and his look increasingly timid.
Oh, but surely
they were bad people, right?
Ugh, I didn't really check. Goten, was it?
Yeah, I'm glad that you remembered.
Is there something you want from me? Or are you trying to annoy me?
No.
Goten looked away and decided to fly away, putting a considerable distance between him and his grandpa. Then Bardock was approached by Gohan, who started to enthusiastically tell him about every freaking rock, every freaking boring town that they passed, and every meaningless landscape that they was going, giving him some kind of a tour, as if the recipient of this information cared. It was a good thing that this boy was supposedly very strong, because in other settings, he was just such a bore. God! As they landed near the small house in the mountains, he remembered his home among the rocky wastes of planet Vegeta. His house, a little lumpy sort of a thing with small windows, it always smelling of meat which Gine had prepared for him earlier that day. This wasn't it. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this story, check out 2021's full story where Chi-Chi got a little bit more than she bargained for and was actually in the story. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!